paraphrase the late, great Yogi Berra, it's deja vu all over again on Islamo fascism. Have you noticed how much the political dialogue in the West after the Hamas terrorist attack in Gaza on October 7th mirrors the post-9/11 discourse? On the side of sanity are peaceful pluralists of all stripes and denominations who recognize that those who combine Islam with fascism, though proportionally small in number, can strike painful blows against civilization if not confronted. On the other side are identitarians of all stripes and denominations, for whom every day is a day to rage against the West, and who resist anything resembling common sense. And so out comes the left's parade of horribles, although out really isn't the right word, as it's only conservatives cowering in the closets these days. Members of Congress's Hamas caucus like Rashida Tlaib push jihadist agitprop. The Philistines who roam the halls of the Ivy League and other repositories of intellectual squalor platform unfiltered anti-Semitism or play Pontius Pilate in the face of it. The identitarian left is just repugnant enough in these moments that billionaires who endow academic chairs and whose names adorn campus palazzos where hate lives quite nicely are temporarily inhibited from underwriting barbarism. It won't last. After all, what did the donor set think they were financing all this time during which the BDS movement thrived on campus? The C-suite P-hats were confused as to what Black Lives Matter was prior to BLM's cheerleading the slaughter of innocents in Gaza? Yeah, I don't think so. They are America's Louis Philippes paying for the guillotine with their names on it. Their indignation will subside, and they'll be back to subsidized cultural rot. If past is prologue, as Shakespeare suggested, we might take note we've spent the 2 decades post-9/11 on this merry-go-round. The pace is simply quickening. You remember the hedges and the qualifiers and the false equivalences and the conflating of threat levels, don't you? It's not all Muslims, it's just the terrorists. And there are a lot of white national terrorists too. It's not even terrorism, it's violent extremism. And white supremacy represents the greatest violent extremist threat of all. Does that sound familiar? We had a 2-term POTUS named Obama, you may recall, financed by many of the same people who did and still fund America's sclerotic institutional incubators of ignorance, who wouldn't use the phrase radical Islam for fear it would radicalize radical Islamists. Makes sense of that. This was after Obama presided over the massacres at Fort Hood and an Orlando nightclub, as well as the Boston Marathon bombing, to name but a few such attacks on American soil by, dare I say, radical Islamists. Obama treated terrorists the way that George Soros-funded prosecutors treat violent criminals a decade later. They're former honor students who are fundamentally lawful, on the cusp of turning their lives around, and require only a spot on the first rung of the ladder of economic success. The terrorists just needed jobs that paid a living wage, remember? The Obama rap was just an earlier expression of the lingo we hear today about othering and the systemically oppressed and so forth. All the identitarian left has done since is to expand their ranks to dudes who want to swim in the girls' team, hoping to keep all these marginalized groups slotted in their electoral death cult. Of course, even those who ostensibly represented the side able to bring themselves to identify the thing with the beak and feathers uttering quack as a duck did not perform well. The perma-guests on CNN and MSNBC spinning yarns about P-tapes and laptops with all the earmarks of a Russian ruse made their bones during the open-ended expansion of the surveillance state post-9/11. There must be an approach somewhere in between enabling Islamo-fascist terrorists and enabling John Brennan. Perhaps we return to University of Chicago law professor Richard Epstein's construct of simple rules for a complex world. Here's some. Equal protection under the law is non-negotiable and thus universally applicable. We shouldn't fund our enemies. We should know who's coming into our country and why. We shouldn't judge people based on a shared identity, but rather by their individual beliefs and conduct. And we shouldn't give our government more money or power than it needs to enforce the freedoms enshrined in our Bill of Rights. If we don't respect our country's first principles enough to live by them, neither will anyone else. I'm Dan Proft with this counterculture commentary. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And please leave a comment in the comment section. We'd love to hear your thoughts.